So how do you say follow me in French or Spanish or Urdu or whatever language you might need to use? Maybe Jesus said it in Greek. When he comes by Matthew, and Matthew's sitting there with his tax collecting money box, and Jesus looks at him and he says, follow me. What does Matthew do? He follows Jesus. So what was it? Like something in his eyes, a fire in his eyes, liquid love coming out of his, speech and his look and that? Or what was it that would compel you to just drop everything and follow Jesus? And I know when we say like, follow me, you're thinking, well, no, we don't want people to follow us. We want them to follow Jesus. Actually, yeah, that's pretty religious, wimpy idea. The truth is that if you're going to be a leader, you're going to have people follow. So the question is, how do we say, follow me, and people will? Like 400 and some men followed David into the cave of Adullam. I mean, I don't know if he actually invited them or whether they just like, we're going. Seems like they just decided to go. But let's look at the story of Jehu, because he said, follow me, to a couple guys who just turned around and followed him. He was the new king of Israel. And he was a bit of a madman, when Elisha was instructed of the Lord to anoint Jehu to be the next king of Israel. And his job, his anointing, the focus of his job, his responsibility, was to kill Ahab and Jezebel and that whole family, to get rid of all of them. And he proceeded to do that. And so they needed a kind of a wild sort of character. And so Elisha sent one of the young prophets. You can imagine being this guy, right? Take this bottle of oil, go find Jehu, tell him when you see him, he's going to be with a bunch of other guys, tell him, I need to talk to you alone for a minute. And Jehu agrees, and they go into the house, and the young prophet pours the bottle of oil onto Jehu's head and prophesies that he's the next king of Israel, and opens the door and runs for his life. That was the instructions Elisha gave him. And so that's the kind of a guy you got. One of the first things that he did was kill Joram, king of Israel. He was the bad king of Israel. And he was wounded in war by the Syrians. And he had gone to Jezreel to hide out in the tower there and heal from his wounds. And so Jehu is riding towards this tower of Jezreel. And he's coming across the plain with his chariot. The guys, the watchmen on the wall or on the tower, tell Joram, he said, there's somebody coming across the plain, like wildly, dust flying and everything. So Joram says, send one of our riders on a horse out there to meet whoever's coming and ask him, is it peace? Do you come in peace? And so this rider went tearing out there across the plain, heading towards these chariots. And he meets Jehu head on there, right? And says, the king wants to know, do you come in peace? And Jehu's kind of rough answer says, what have you got to do with peace? Turn around and follow me. And the guy did. He turned his horse around and he followed Jehu. So now he instantly becomes a warrior against the king who just sent him out there. Change sides just like that. And that's what follow me does. It changes sides. And that's why it's so sudden, it's so abrupt, and it's so life-changing. So then the watchman says, but Joram, not good news. That guy we sent out there, he joined Jehu, or whoever it was. And by this time they're starting to figure out that it was Jehu, because the guy says he drove furiously. And so Joram says, well, send another rider out. Find somebody that can be trusted, somebody that's not going to turn on us. And send him out there. And so he sent another rider out here, goes tearing across the plains, meets Jehu head on. And he says to Jehu, do you come in peace? The king wants to know. And Jehu says, what does peace have to do with you? Turn around and follow me. And the guy turned around and joined Jehu's army, just like that. I mean, that's the kind of follow me that I want to be able to say, whatever that language is, follow me. And I've discovered over the years, maybe just by noticing, but also by, praying and having a heart of humility, say, God, I just want to serve. As a leader, I want to be a servant and serve the people that you give me to lead. But I've noticed that there are people that will admire you, and they'll follow you because they admire you. but they're not actually following you. They're just a spectator. And as soon as they find something in your life that they no longer admire or that turns them off, they're no longer going to follow you. But people that really do follow us and me in this sense, because that's who I can speak to, are not the people that admire me, but the people that I admire. And I think that's what it was in Jesus, and that's what it was in David, and that's what it was in Jehu. This is another time in Jehu's life, just after this, where he's in his chariot and he's riding to another city to kill some more of the sons of Ahab. And Jehonadab, this young Rechabite from the family of Rechab, he heard Jehu's coming and he wants to meet this guy who's like successfully killing Ahab and his family. And because he's a madman, like who doesn't want to go meet a madman? And so Jehonadab, standing by the road, Jehu comes along and says one thing to Jehonadab. He says, "Is your heart right with mine as my heart is with yours?" And Jehonadab says, "Yes, it is." And Jehu says, "Well, take my hand, come up into my chariot." And he pulls him up into the chariot. And he says, "Come and see my zeal for the Lord." Because he knew that's what the Rechabite, or Jehonadab, had come to see. He came to see Jehu's zeal for the Lord. He was famous for his zeal. That's why he drove so fast. So now you got this guy, Jehonadab, who Jehu has basically said, "Follow me," and pulled him up into his chariot. And the guy does. Like, where do you get that level of trust instantly? That level of commitment? That level of wanting to see the passion and the zeal of the Lord in someone who might lead you into that same passion and that same zeal? But I'll tell you what, this is such an amazing word. Follow me. People don't follow you because they admire you. They follow you because you admire them, and they know it. And that comes back to the apostolic gift of seeing potential in the lives of people around you. I look at the young people around us, the young people in the church, I look at my grandchildren, and you know what I see? Potential. There might be people, maybe even their parents sometimes, that see disappointment. But I just see potential. I so totally admire them. I admire their youthfulness. I admire their bravery, their willingness to try stuff. I admire their skills and their talents, as rough as they might be, as undeveloped as they might be. They're so admirable. Our students in the Bible college, I just absolutely admire every one of them for the potential that's in their lives. And there's nothing that you would be attracted to more than a person that admires you for the value that God has put in your life and the potential of drawing that value out and putting it to work in the kingdom so that you can be fulfilled. And because it is such a life-changing event, a life-changing decision, when we say, as leaders, when we look at somebody that we see all this potential and we say, "Follow me." I mean, you might not say it in those many words, but the reason that they're going to follow you is because you admire them, is because you honor what God has put in them, because you are just so amazed at how amazing they are. So that's the takeaway. People don't follow you because they admire you. If they do, they're just a spectator. But they follow you because you admire them. They see that you're going to help them reach the potential that God has put in them. Yeah.